carbohydrates have made our country diabetic. So the first rule applies: protein as your first meal. Carbohydrates convert to sugar, period. We've misunderstood sugar cravings for salt craving. One banana, 6 spoons of sugar. One mango, 28 grams. So fasting is not a starvation. Fasting is nothing but you giving your digestive system a rest. Medication is just a band-aid. You need to fix your main root cause, which is sugar.
Leading a power-packed carnivore lifestyle with a family and helping people tap into the best nutrition options every day. Our guest today on the Settle or Be Better podcast is Mahek Lokhandwala, who's going to be talking to us about the carnivore diet and a lot more. So welcome Mahek ma'am, and over to you. Why don't you begin by telling us a little bit about your health and wellness story, and specifically about how and why did you begin with the carnivore lifestyle, and how has it been for you?
Lovely. Um, Thank you. Thank you, Sakshi, and Settle or Be Better. I'm sure this is going to be a wonderful platform for not just, speakers like us who are trying to change our own life and those around us. But I think this platform is going to be a very nice platform for viewers who come from different cultures, and especially in India, where we have diverse religions, diverse traditions. So for somebody like me, and as the name suggests, Indian carnivore, it's a very head-turning name, right? So of course, I will come to that a little later on the podcast. But to start with, yes, I am currently a lifestyle coach. I did not even dream of this. I started as a jewelry designer way back in 2005. Yes, so that was my passion, as I've already worked in the jewelry business for a couple of years in the US. So when I got back to India and settled here, that's when I decided to get into jewelry designing. And I started that in 2005. I continued that well up until 2020. So it's almost been 15 years for me in the jewelry business, and I've always been into fashion jewelry. Fitness has always been a part of my life, but never so, in the sense that I could take it up as a profession or I could teach it to people. So I've always been on the conventional wisdom that, eat less, move more, exercise, blah, 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 all of that, what everybody has been doing, had been doing, and is still doing. So that's how my journey was from my jewelry business getting into fitness. But getting into fitness full time and the way I am doing it today, I will take you back to 2018, wherein in 2018 I had a couple of general reports to be done and a few markers to be checked. And I remember in that time, one of my markers at in the lab reports were a little on the higher side, and that was my LDL cholesterol. And of course, as I see even today, everybody panics on that marker. So that was the marker that actually changed my life and got me into fitness full time.
Amazing. That's an amazing story. And how was
Yes.
it like? Did you already begin, implementing the carnivore diet into your lifestyle in 2018, or was it much later than that?
Oh, it was much later. Carnivore came into my life only in 2021, much later. When I
Amazing.
started in 2018, uh, at that point, I was not coaching anybody because I had zero knowledge on nutrition. So at that point, I was my own client. Everything that I was doing was just experimenting on myself. And I had so much of, negations from people. Oh, you're on a fat diet, you're trying to harm your body, and all of those things. But when I started in 2018, I just, one day I just sat and I said to myself, everybody has been doing everything, right? And I am doing the exactly same things what everybody is doing. And it's not working. So there's got to be something that is going wrong, because everybody cannot be doing it wrong, right? There's got to be something there. So I decided, I remember I was having a word with my friend in the gym, and she came up with this thing to me and she said, Mehak, why don't you try intermittent fasting? And I was very fascinated because for me, new things into fitness would always attract me. And I remember I told her, I said, what is this kind of, is it some kind of a starvation? She says, no, you just eat for a period of time and then you fast for a period of time. Okay. And I said, oh, that sounds interesting. Not too bad because any which ways we sleep at night for about good 8 hours. So I can manage. And I started with a 12-hour fasting period. In my 12-hour eating window, I was still eating the wrong things. Okay. Thinking that my fasting is going to help me. But this is something I always tell people even today. Now that I have come through this journey in 5 years, I tell people it is never about your fasting window. It is always about your feeding window. What you put in your body during a feeding window is what is going to affect and show the results on your fast. So I still remember 2018 that happened, 2019 I continued, I started to lose the weight because then I started to get more and more interested into nutrition. Okay. And now I will connect both the stories together. So this was I will say 2017. I'm sorry. 2017 is when I started my intermittent fasting. Going into 2018, I decided it's been 6 months I've been doing this. Let me check my markers. And I had a checkup. That's where my LDL slightly came on the higher side. And of course, like all white coats would do, they put me onto a cardiologist. And the cardiologist went crazy looking at the reports. And he said, oh, your arteries are clogged and you need to get a statin. You need to go on a cholesterol lowering drug. And at that point, I had no idea about nutrition. I did not even know how to spell cholesterol, literally. So anyway, he put me on that drug. My life became a disaster since then. Yeah. So 2018, March to July or to August, those 5 to 6 months, it was a mess because when I started that cholesterol lowering drug, I could see all the side effects. Okay, I don't even know if it had possibly lowered my cholesterol even a little bit, but the side effects were terrible. I had 20 kgs of weight gain. I suffered from brain fog. I suffered from blurry eyes. So I had all these issues that cropped up taking that statin, not even questioning the doctor, why has he put me on that statin? That is actually when it hit me very hard, that I realized that I need to change this. This medication is for life, and I cannot be on a lifetime drug for all my life, right? There's got to be some solution to this. And that is when I quit that drug on my own. I did not take the consultation of a doctor. I did it on my own, which I do not recommend to anybody to do it. Always consult and be in conjunction with your physician or with your family doctor why and what you are doing with those drugs. I did it, which was completely a personal decision. But today, of course, I do thank myself because I started implementing the correct lifestyle after quitting that drug. So people think, oh, quitting a drug is going to make things happen. It's not going to happen unless and until you are going to correct that lifestyle. So that's when my journey in nutrition actually started. I started reading on books about low carb, about keto, and I honestly started low carb very well at that point. And with intermittent fasting, I started low carb. I did it for good about 2 years. Then I started to progress into keto because obviously by then the body was already adapted and it was ready for it. And I still remember 2021 in May, a friend of mine suggested me a book called Carnivore Code by Paul Saladino. So I first was very fascinated by this whole lifestyle of eating meat and just meat. But then I also realized it was getting very expensive. Obviously, because just eating only meat and eggs, it is expensive. But to the good side of it, I started to realize that, hey, I haven't been to a doctor in 3 years. I haven't taken a single pill. I have never had any vaccine. I have never got COVID. So while I started reading the book, and I must tell you, this book is very powerful. It's a very intense book. If you really want to go into a carnivore lifestyle, it's not easy. It's very tough. Why? Because obviously for the last 40, 45 years, we have been all eating a certain way. So our DNA has altered as per our epigenetics, as per our surroundings, as per the foods that we are getting. So we don't expect our DNA to change overnight or our genetics to change overnight. Hence, getting into a carnivore lifestyle took me literally 2 years because I would fall off and then I would come back. And there were so many corrections that you have to make on a carnivore lifestyle. So every day for me has been a learning process since then till today. And I'm sure till I go to my grave, I will be learning.
Amazing. That was a really great insight and an amazing story. Thank you for sharing that with us. And there's some really great pointers that you pointed out. First of all, about the intermittent fasting, and the most important thing is the part where we feast as a eating window for the whatever
Yes,
hours that
yes,
we are eating, right? Because that's what
yes.
often happens. The whole misconception and what people feel is like, I can't do fasting because I feel hungry at night. Or I feel like I'm starving myself. It's actually because what you ate in your last meal, and that matters a lot. So that was a really great message. And also, did you eat meat earlier, or how was this transition for you like?
The transition has been very gradual because I come from a family which has got a mixed culture. So my father is a Hindu, Gujarati, and never touched meat. I mean, his family has never touched meat. He always ate meat. And my grandmother, which is my mom's side, has been Muslim. So I come from a family where I got to see both the sides of it, the vegetarian side and the non-vegetarian side. So as children, of course, we never understood all of these things and we just ate what came our plate. But I've always been eating meat, but I've always been more inclined towards a carb lifestyle, obviously, because if you see a standard Indian plate today, 90% is carbohydrate. I used to say 70, now it has become 90. And the protein has gone in that one little corner. And fats, of course, fats raise cholesterol, fats make us fat, fat does this, fat clogs your arteries, and all those blah, blah, blah. None of it, and I say this on your podcast, none of it is true. Carbohydrates have made our country diabetic. And the amount of reports that I see today is unreal. Unreal. There are people, they don't even know that they have already turned diabetic. Why? Because their fasting glucose looks normal. So we have
Right.
been taught and we have been given this information that your fasting glucose gives you the indication if you are diabetic or not. And I dare to challenge anyone who can prove that to me, because it's not your fasting glucose. It's always your fasting insulin. How much insulin is your body pumping to make sure those sugars are getting into your cell? And of course, we are gorging every 2 hours. So a lot of myths like you have to keep eating every 2 hours, it's going to increase your metabolism. No, it's not going to do that. It's going to make it worse because you're pressuring your organs every 2 hours to run a digestive process, which is not fair. So fasting is not a starvation. Fasting is nothing but you giving your digestive system a rest. And when you are feeding, you got to feed it with certain certain macros that are going to help the fasting period. You're not feasting because you had a fast. You haven't done anybody a favor by fasting. You have just gotten your body into a detox. And fasting is the best detox. So, people take a lot of these fancy pills and fancy supplements for detox and juices for detox. Your liver is the master of your body. Your liver knows how to detox, provided you give it the right quality of food.
True, absolutely. And also, like, a lot of more doctors and speakers are coming out and telling us about how fasting is actually, in our genes, how our ancestors did it the way. And it's really easy for us to adapt to it once we do it the right way. And there's this little keys that we really need to know, that which one to plug in and which one to change. So that's really something to think about. And thank you for
Yes.
sharing that with us. And also, the way you talked about cholesterol, I actually recently recorded a podcast with a doctor, and I don't know, probably when this is out, that episode is out as well. So some of the listeners have already listened to this. But the myth about cholesterol being the biggest reason behind heart attacks is one of the major myths. Like there's so many other factors and so many other issues that can lead us to that, and not just cholesterol. And the way that it has become normal and popularized, it's crazy, from like just a few researchers back in 1950s, 1960s. And it's crazy how today every single person would link cholesterol to heart attacks, and fear foods that would probably raise it for them. So that's very true. And coming to the topic, right to the topic, and eating close to nature is something that we've all thought of as the best way to go on a cleanse, to go and start eating a fit or a healthy way. But what eating close to nature is, it's always misunderstood. So when we think about that, the first thing that comes to a lot of people's mind is plants and vegetables, and how in India, Ayurvedic culture is deeply rooted, and how we listen to a lot of these Ayurvedic practitioners, or in the studies, or probably even in our house as our grandparents or mothers telling us about, how it used to be earlier. Eating close to nature is always linked to eating, cleaner in terms of vegetables and plants, and all of those things, and cleaning out the meat that causes heat in our body. That's the main thing that happens. But can you shed a little light on how eating the carnivore way is actually eating close to nature?
Yeah. So eating plants and eating vegetables, like I said, it's a personal choice. I have done it for 42 years. Now that I do not do it, I have seen the benefits of it. Okay. So if I have to tell somebody tomorrow, stop eating plants, and they'll be like, are you crazy? Right? Obviously, because I say so, because I have done it over the period of time and I have seen the benefits. But if I had to tell this to somebody, no one's going to accept me on face value. So I always tell people, plants is not human food. We don't have a digestive system of a cow. We don't have a digestive system of a ruminant animal who can digest plants. Plant is animal food, and animals convert that plant into protein, and we use animal meat as our source of protein because that's how our digestive system is. So I don't say we are carnivores, pure carnivores. We are omnivores. Yes, we have eaten meat primarily as ancestors. Meat has been our first source of nutrition or energy. We have relied on plants and vegetables and certain fruits for survival, not for thriving. Whenever a human wants to thrive, I always say go for the first class sources of protein and fats. And if you look at it, it's very simple because nature talks to you through the food that's given you. Look at eggs. Eggs come with fat and protein together. Look at meat, comes with fat and protein together. So nature is already telling you that this is your food. This is what I am giving you. Now, over the last 14,000 years or 10,000 years, we have introduced grains into our life, and now we have normalized eating that way. So think about it. Your physiology, your entire biology is almost 3 million years old, where we used to be eating meat. And just in the last 14, 15,000 years, we have started to inculcate grains and vegetables and fruits and so-called all of these things in our diet. And what has happened to our obesity? What's happened to the death rates? What's happened to the diabetes rates? It's just being shooting up.
Amazing. All right. So, what does a typical day or a week look like for you in a carnivore lifestyle?
In a carnivore lifestyle, absolutely. So when I started intermittent fasting around in 2018, at that point, obviously because my body was still, dependent on the glucose and the sugars from outside, at that point, my eating window was pretty wide. Like I was almost doing 14 hours of fasting with a 10-hour eating window. And I would take about three good meals in that 10 hours. Further on, as I started to change the quality of my food, so I removed the rice, I removed the grains, and I removed all the carbs and the sugars. Slowly, I started to incorporate more of protein and more of fats. And I realized over a period of 8 to 10 months, just before I was getting into keto, I had already given myself into 2 meals a day, and there was nothing more than 2 meals I could actually take. Now, that was also including my meals if I would eat them outside. So at that point, yes, I was eating outside. Then I transformed into keto and I continued my 2 meals a day. When I came into carnivore, now there was a big shift here because in a carnivore lifestyle, I was just doing meat and eggs, sometimes fish, chicken, sometimes, but it was more of meat. When I started doing this, I realized my meals came down from two to one. So now, if you ask me a typical day or a typical week, well, it will be one meal a day, which is around 4 p.m. in the evening. And
Hmm.
if I have done a very intense strength training or an intense weight training session, and if I'm hungry, I will take 2 meals. So it all
And
depends on that day's energy levels, on that day's requirements. And I say this to people also. You don't need a dietitian in your life. You just need to understand how your body talks to you. And trust me, your body is telling you and giving you signs at every point in time. So what are headaches? What is constipation? What is
hmm.
migraine? This is nothing but your body trying to tell you a sign that you're doing something wrong. Fix it. But what do?
Right.
We either run to our dietitians or we run to our doctors and we get prescribed for medication. We are trying to suppress a symptom without addressing the root cause. Uh, and another thing I'll tell you here is when it comes to sugar. So people always tell me that, oh, I have this very sweet tooth and I have a craving for sugar. We've misunderstood sugar cravings for salt cravings. Sugar is
Hmm.
something that your body already knows how to make. Your body goes through a process called gluconeogenesis in the liver, where it knows how to make its own glucose. So anything your body knows how to make, it's not going to ask you from outside. What it doesn't know to make is salt. So many a times, and I say this with experience because now I try this on my clients also, and they've all come back to me saying that we feel so much better. Whenever you have a sugar craving or a sweet tooth is what you call it, try having water and salt. Within a few minutes, even within a few hours actually, you'll feel better and you'll realize you never had a sugar craving. But this doesn't
Right.
happen overnight. This takes a long period of time. So for me to come to this level of understanding, it took me good 3.5 years. I had crazy sugar cravings. But that sugar cravings happen because you're constantly giving your body sugar. So you give it sugar, your blood sugar will rise. Now, the moment it rises, obviously insulin will come and shuttle this sugar into a cell. Your blood sugar will fall. You get that signal again to the brain, and now your brain asks for food. What do you give it? Sugar again. Am I talking about white sugar? No, I'm talking about other forms of sugar. Bread, pasta, pizza, junk, packaged foods. Everything has got sugar. Things
Absolutely.
like jaggery, honey, sugar. See, your body is very smart. You can't fool it. You cannot trick it by saying, "Oh, I just gave it jaggery, or I gave it honey, or I gave it brown bread." Nothing doing. Carbohydrates convert to sugar. Period. So if you want to reduce your sugar cravings, want to reduce all of these signs and symptoms, go more on protein.
Hmm.
And from the time I started doing this, my one meal a day seems so beautiful right now because it's so effortless. Nobody can force me to eat more than what my body demands. And
Right.
that is the beauty. And that's why I come back to say this. You do not need a dietitian. If you are doing 2 meals a day, 3 meals a day, fair enough. No problem. Start with 3 meals, progress into two. But do you have to do it intentionally? No. You have to just keep changing your quality of the food and your meals will settle down by itself. So literally now that I do one meal a day and so does my family, sometimes my daughter will do 2 meals a day, which is absolutely fine. It all depends on your own hunger. And eat only when hungry, drink only when thirsty. If you apply this one rule in your life, you will never need a dietitian. So this is what typically I would do on a daily basis. So it's either meat, eggs, or sometimes both. And sometimes if
Hmm.
I don't, if my body doesn't demand food, I'll probably just go and do an extended water fast.
Right. That's great. I mean, it's really an intuitive process, and this somatic awareness is what lacks today. Am I really hungry? Am I thirsty? It's always out of boredom or out of habit. Is when we go on a clock outside our body today. It's like it's 11 o'clock or it's 12 o'clock. It's my lunchtime. Or it's my snack time,
Yes,
5 p.m. and that pick me up. That sort of a thing. It's there and it's been happening for so many years. Of course, it'll take a little more effort and a little more time, but just this
correct.
understanding of somatic awareness and to really understand the cues your body is giving you, there's great power in this, and that was really amazing. And also an amazing tip about having salt water. That's something that I'm hearing for the first time as well, so that's a great insight.
Yes.
And
And
also
I have tried this on so many people, and everyone who comes back to me and tells me, you were so right, we just don't have the cravings anymore. And I said, because you were feeding the wrong S. You were feeding your craving with sugar. You need to give it salt.
true. And what also happens at that time is that we feel satiated at that moment when you give your body what it's craving in terms of
Yeah.
sugar or carbs.
It's
But
just a dopamine
that
effect, not
goes
just for a
down.
few seconds.
Right. Exactly. That goes down massively after a couple of hours, and then you're again in your kitchen, in your refrigerator,
Hungry. Yeah.
looking for snacking, right? And also to add up on the sugar bit, with a little information, I read this somewhere in a book, and it said that sugar cravings is actually it actually happens because how our ancestors lived earlier, and they used to have these cravings because they didn't know what their next meal is going to be or what time it's going to be. So the body used to give this craving at that point as a nudge that if you eat something sweet right now, it might satiate you for a long time. But right now that's not the case, because we are surrounded by so many resources, we're surrounded by food, our kitchen is always full, so we don't have to really go out and hunt there. And that's why our body doesn't really need it at this point. But this need or this nudge is always there in our body, also because we have conditioned it over the years that when I have this craving, I will satisfy it with these many options. And that's really
Yes.
what's happening right now. And also to come back on your one meal a day fast, um, just to break it down for our audience a little bit, because you did progress with 3 and 2 meals a day to one meal a day very gradually. It was not very sudden, and it was over the months, and also how you noticed your body adjusting to it, right? Like it would actually happen automated when you are doing it the right way, like you said. And what was the really, how do you really come to a one meal a day fast? Is it because you really feel satiated after that one meal, which is protein rich, that you don't feel the need to feed your body another meal, another snack in the day? Or is it intentional that this is the way I want to do, and that's how your body got adapted to it?
Yeah. And I'll explain this to you in a very simple way so that even a mother can explain this to her child. It's very simple. If you see, if you look at a small baby, yeah, who's just newborn, now that child has a certain way of telling the mother that I'm hungry, right? So if it's a small newborn, it will always be through crying. So if a child is crying, the first indication the mother gets that yes, probably my child is hungry. This is exactly how our body works, just like a small child. Whenever it's hungry or it needs energy, it will give you a signal, right? We have hormones in our body like leptin and ghrelin. So, ghrelin is your hunger hormone, which will give you a signal that I am hungry. And you provide the food. Now, let's go back to the child. When the child gets what it needs, which I would say is milk, the moment the mother gives the child milk, what happens to that child? The child settles down, he'll stop crying, right? Same thing happens with your body. The moment you give the body what it needs or what it cannot make, what is essential for it, once you provide that, the body is going to keep shut. But is that happening today? Is that happening? That is not happening because we are providing the body with those foods that it already knows how to make. So if I have to tell you, give that small baby, don't give that baby milk and give the baby juice. Well, the mother will say, you've gone crazy. I cannot give my child juice because what it's demanding is milk. So why are we doing the same thing with our body as adults? Why are we giving it the wrong non-essential things? So coming to one meal a day, does it happen overnight? No, it doesn't happen overnight. You have to progress it by changing your meal by meal by meal. You keep changing the quality of the food, give it more of what it needs, protein and fat. Cut off the carbs so it's less dependent on sugars from outside. And it will start using the body fat that has been already stored from the sugars you've been eating. And that's how you progress to a one meal a day. Like I said, you don't do it intentionally. It just happens. So from a two meal, I shifted to a 1.5 meal where I was taking one big meal at around 4:30, and I was taking a second half meal like just a bone broth soup or just a plain butter coffee at around 11 a.m. Then I realized that, okay, I think I can skip off that butter coffee and keep it to a 23-hour fast. So always remember, at every point, your body will keep giving you signs. That is how you progress to a one meal a day. You never do it intentionally. You let your body take its time. And remember one thing, your body is working very hard to keep you alive. So at any point, if it feels discomfort or if it feels there is a danger, it will always signal you, either with hunger or with a headache or with constipation. These are a few signs your body will keep giving you. But don't address it with the wrong things. Address it with the right things. When it needs the food, give it that nutrition. That's how you progress to a one meal a day. And now it has become effortless. So now I know the peak time of my hunger. And everybody's peak time is going to be different depending on a lot of factors: genetics, the work environment, the weather, how you've been eating, how you've been cooking. All of that is going to make a lot of difference in how you will come to a one meal a day. A lot of people also state, oh, one meal a day is a starvation diet. No, it's not a starvation diet, because in that one meal, I make sure I eat whatever my body needs as much as it needs. Do I calorie count? Absolutely not. We are not a mathematical unit system. We are a biological system. We work on hormones. We have hormones which rise and fall as per what we are eating, as per what our needs are for that day. So once you understand which hormone is working how, it's going to be very easy for you to intake the right quality of the food. And coming to this, I'll state one more thing here about PCOD. So I see a lot of young girls today having a lot of issues with menstrual cycle, PCOS, PCOD, and very young to start with. And if you look at their diets, because I see these diets every day, what they're eating, and it's completely full of sugar, full of sugar. Now, what are they doing? They're taking medications to heal this problem. It's not going to happen. Medication is just a band aid. You need to fix your main root cause, which is sugar. Once you fix that, your body is going to work in conjunction with all your hormones and really well. And why did I bring this point up today of PCOD in your topic? In spite of the fact that we're talking carnivore, is because I am a PCOD patient. I have been PCOD for years. And my food used to be pure sugar from morning to night. Thrice a day, I would be taking rice. I would be taking 3 cans of Coke every day, lots and lots of chapatis, and I turned PCOD. So much of grains, so much of sugar. So, sorry if I've attached this topic into your topic, but this was very important, especially for the young girls who are having these issues, gut issues, acne issues. Acne is another problem that we are facing, and Carnivore Lifestyle has fixed every single uh, every single student that has come to me for acne. Every single. In fact, it fixed my own. If you can see my skin, I'm 47 today, and I have 20-year-olds who come and tell me, Auntie, how does your skin look so good? I said, Beta, because I eat those foods which my body needs. I don't eat what it can already make.
True. True, and also the way that you pointed out, the diet full of sugar for women today facing the issues, hormonal issues, right? Also, a
Yes.
part of it is fruits, because say someone gets diagnosed with PCOD and they go to a doctor, they are on a pill, and they'd say, okay, now I'll make some changes in my lifestyle and I'll start adding some clean foods to my diet, and that's where fruit also comes in, or even vegetables, right? That's where we become heavy on fiber, And fruits being a
Correct.
major part. There's such a big misconception that, oh, I'm eating fruits, I'm eating healthy. I'm having a fruit bowl a day, I'm eating healthy. And I think that's also where it affects our hormones in a major way. And since it's great that you brought up this topic, we can also, if we can expand a little bit more about hormone health and, eating animal protein and how has it helped, or any other stories with your clients, not just with PCOD, but any other hormonal issues that they might be facing, and it might have helped them in a major way making this particular change in their diet.
Yes, absolutely. So a lot of factors, yes, fiber, fruits, everybody says it's healthy. Well, great. If it's healthy, show me your good health. That's what I always tell them. Fiber is a very big myth. Okay, I've had so many people come back to me with IBS issues, gut issues, and all I told them was quit the fiber. We humans have no enzyme to digest fiber. All right. Being on a carnivore lifestyle, you need zero fiber because you're getting all your minerals, your vitamins, everything that your gut bacteria also needs from your animal meat, from your eggs, from your fish, from your dairy. So fiber is a very big myth. Fiber, so people also ask me this thing, oh, since you've been a carnivore, you don't face issues of constipation? Of course I do face. I used to face when I was in a transition period. Of course it would, because I had already messed up my gut so much with the sugars that now I need an external source to flush that shit out. And that should not be the case. Your gut pipe has to be super clean at all times without any form of oxidation on its walls. That's how a human was always designed to be. We've started to add fiber. It's like adding drainage to your clogged sink. My question is, why do you need to add that drainage? Why don't you just clean the pipe out? And you will never need fiber. Coming to fruit, yes, we've all been told this thing that fruits are very healthy. And I'm like, okay, lovely. If they're healthy, what is it that you're getting from them? Minerals and vitamins. I'll put you a tray of food which has got the same amount or the same quality of minerals and vitamins. Would you eat it? No, you won't. Why? Because we are not addicted to the vitamins and minerals. We are actually addicted to the fruit in that, the sugar in that fruit. And the most dangerous is fructose. So eating a fruit, great. I don't have a problem with you eating a fruit, right? The problem is, are you going to avoid all the other things that you are eating in the entire day, which has tons of fructose? That is the one sugar that heads straight into your liver without even touching any of the cells. So none of your other cells in the body are going to accept fructose. The only one big daddy who's going to take care of fructose in your body is going to be your liver. Now, where does this lead? Non-alcoholic fatty liver. I have young girls who have come to me, 23 and 28 age. They've come up to me with a non-alcoholic fatty liver. And I said, Beta, do you guys have any alcohol? They said, no. Well, where is this fatty liver coming from? My previous dietitian gave me six different fruits in a day, or told me to juice my fruit. Juicing a fruit is nothing but drinking a glass of sugar. What happens in a fruit? A fruit comes with fiber. What is the job of that fiber? To reduce the blood sugar spike. So when you eat a full fruit, you're adding the fiber with it. You're not destroying the fiber. So okay, if you have to eat a fruit, please eat it whole. Don't juice your fruits. When you juice that fruit or that vegetable for that matter, you are getting rid of the fiber. The job of fiber is finished. Now you're only drinking a glass of juice. So if you have to ask me between a fruit and a fruit juice, definitely a fruit. Do you
True.
need a fruit in your life? No. Why? Because you get all the vitamins and minerals from the other foods. I haven't eaten a fruit in about 5 years. Nothing has happened. I have not lost any vitamins and minerals. My skin doesn't look pale. Yes, I do add berries like strawberry, mulberries, blueberries in a very seasonal manner when they are available in the year around October, November. That's the time I have done it because they are low on sugar, great for antioxidants. And yes, you could include those. But if you're telling me about mango or one apple One banana, go ahead, count the sugar. One banana, 6 spoons of sugar. One mango, 28 grams. And we are still in the myth of everything in moderation. If you want to live in moderation, then you better be prepared to live with diseases in moderation. Then don't complain that I'm having these issues and those issues. That's how it is.
That was some really great insight, and it's very true. All of these things that you said is that we are facing on a daily basis, and it's very hard to pinpoint what we are doing wrong when we think that this is healthy and this is our narrative of eating healthy or leading this kind of lifestyle. It's very difficult to pinpoint these things that you just pointed out that might be affecting our health in some way, and that's some really a great insight. Thank you for sharing that with us. And also in terms of fruits and vegetables today, they are available, like fruits are available all around the year, the ones that you would never find in that particular season earlier. That's one of the
True.
major things. You would still go to a restaurant and order one of its shakes or one of its whatever juices which is not available,
Correct.
and it really states over there that they might be using syrup, they might be using something else, and still we go for those things. And also I'm also guilty for juicing and
I'm also.
cold press juicing. And I mean, I'm sure my friends, if they're listening to this, they'll be like, what a hypocrite, because she also did this. But it's true, because literally like 2 months till 2 months ago I was doing that. And just it's been an eye opener to listen to a lot more speakers like you, and you yourself also talking about this complete lifestyle change and how it really affects your body in certain ways. So thank you for sharing that with us. It's a big eye opener for us. And the quality of the vegetables and fruits are also not the same today, because it's really not farm to table, or it's really not that enriching quality of soil that we see today that was, way back years ago. So
True.
that's something that we
Back
need
years ago.
to, yeah, we need to factor, and we need to think that are we really sourcing the right vegetables or fruits, and what are we putting in our body. Just because it's a vegetable, it doesn't mean that it's healthy or it's going to enrich your body. Sometimes even they are full of
And I'll say that with meat also.
right, exactly. That's why there's a lot of more fear,
You
because with chicken, like with chicken being medicated and all of those things, there's so much fear about
hormone
how do
injected,
I
yes.
source my meat. So yeah, so
Yes.
coming to that topic, if you can just share a little bit, little tips on how can we source our meat right, and what are some things that you keep in mind to make sure that you are getting the clean and right source of protein.
Yes. Lovely. So for that, I'll say get friendly with your butcher. Make him your best friend. Yeah. Get him into confidence where you can understand from where he's getting his. See, you have to understand one thing. Everything is a business, whether it's being selling vegetables or selling meat. It's a business. So we as a consumer don't or should not go blindly by what's written on the box or on the packet. You need to talk to your butcher, understand from where they are sourcing it. What are they feeding their cattle? See, I always tell people, you are not what you eat. You are what your food eats. So how are you sourcing your meat? Where is it coming from? What is your cattle or what is your chickens or your lambs eating? That's very important. Yes, I do agree that in India we are in a market where we will not be able to source grass-fed beef or grass-fed meat, which is going to be very difficult. Probably just a few handful of suppliers will be doing that. But even otherwise, if you can get clean meat, clean sources of chicken, freshly cut in front of your eyes, better. And of course, with time, you will realize what your body is giving you indications of from that meat. So there was certain brand where I used to eat chicken, and I realized every time I ate that chicken, I used to get this terrible tightness in my abdomen. So when I actually went back and saw the ingredients and started to read the labels and understand, those chickens were being fed corn and soy, which most of the meat today is being fed corn and soy. But yes, you can at least talk to your butcher and see if you can get a better way of getting your animal protein. So at least getting an animal protein is better than getting your vegetables and your fruits, which are fully injected of pesticides and which are going to raise your blood sugar. And it's very simple. I tell people, keep a blood glucose monitor. You really want to know what happens in your body? Get a blood glucose monitor. Or put that machine around your arm and see what happens with the blood sugars. Your food will talk to you through your numbers.
True. True. We have so many resources these days, and being a
Yeah.
little driven will always help us, and it's become very accessible and easy to us. It's just that we need to take that one step and get
Yes.
acquainted to those things. So thank you for sharing that
And
with
one more
us.
thing I would like to add here is I
Yes.
like people who question. So whenever you're buying food or you're being prescribed a medication, ask, question. Don't be dumbwits. Ask because you have the right to that information as a consumer. So even when somebody writes you a prescription, if your doctor writes, ask him what are the pros, what are the cons, and if your doctor tries to put you away or tries to, kind of tell you, oh, I know more than you, well, I think you need to change that doctor or that dietitian.
True. Absolutely. And we usually fear questioning a doctor that, because we'll be like, who are we to ask him that, this whole imposter syndrome.
Absolutely.
And, he'll be thinking that,
Absolutely.
am I even going to understand what he's going to say? But that is often true.
Right.
And a doctor will always tell you, first of all, they'll always give you natural ways also. If it's not a very extreme scenario, they will also give you natural ways to, heal that issue. And then probably if it does not work, then in extreme cases, go to medications. And that's a lack that we have in the doctor patient consultation today, that the questioning, the cross
Yes.
questioning,
Knowledge.
right, exactly, that's never happening. And in fact, in one of the episodes, a doctor just told me that an average doctor patient consultation in India, it's only for like 2 to 4 minutes, in which it's just like checking the normal symptoms and writing the pre decided prescription
Yes.
of medicine, and that's it. There's no
Yes.
questioning or discussion and how other ways you can heal that issue, and that's a really
Yes.
big eye opener
Yes.
for us. So
Absolutely. So
and
I never disperse doctors. I always respect them for the work that they're doing. Great work because obviously they have taken an oath. So their main aim is to help you and to save you, but they are doing it in their limitations. So anything that
true.
can be helped through lifestyle should be adopted as a first option. If not, we then take this further to a doctor. So this is why I say whenever you have a doctor visit, if your doctor is not asking you about your diet, about your sleep, about your exercise, and about your food, too bad. You need to change that doctor because that means he just sits there to write you a prescription.
Right. And also to add to this, what's funny is that I'm not generalizing. I'm sure there are people out there, who are doing things rightly. But when we do get a medication prescribed by a doctor, we just put our hands up and say that, okay, now it's going to heal me. Now I'll just do whatever I was normally doing with my diet and everything. So the whole change, making a change in lifestyle gets, doesn't get any attention when once you get the prescription, and that's it. You're like, okay, the medication will do it for me. And a funny thing about this is that I don't know if you're familiar with Marathi language, or if many of our users are or not. But if you have you heard about this thing, ki pathe pani padaयचे आहेत का? So the this funny thing is that whenever you see an average person probably gone through a surgery, or some sort of an any sort of a disease, going on a medication, and they've just been from a doctor, and a relative will come and ask you, so pathe pani padaयचे आहेत का? That means like do you have to so has a doctor given you any restrictions in terms of your diet? And the person would usually be like, no, this is the usual stuff, this and that, all these little things around it. And this thing that we are questioning it, it's as an option, that do you have to do it or not? Has a doctor told you or not? And instead of that being really a compulsion to even if you have been prescribed medication, you still have to do those things, and you still have to work on the level of your lifestyle and your changes in your diet. And it's an option today, like that's what people usually ask each other, relatives or your friends. And when you come from this sort of a background, that do you is this an option, are you doing it or not? So that's a big thing that happens today, and I just got reminded of that. So this is really
I'm
interesting.
glad
And
you got
also,
reminded of that because I will put my personal experience here.
sure.
So my mother has been told that she's diabetic for the last 33 years. She's been taking the same medications for years. Okay. She's been visiting her diabetologist every month with her weight and her blood glucose and blah, blah, blah. This happens back in 2018, no, 2019, sorry. So when I was into this whole, facade of getting into nutrition and I'm trying to learn and I'm trying to do this and I'm trying to get information from everywhere, I still remember my mother comes back home and she's come from her doctor's visit, and I asked her, where did you go? And she said, I had my routine visit. So I said, oh, lovely. I want to see your reports. So I was very intrigued and, at that point wanted to check what reports look like and stuff. Not that I could read any of it, but the little that I knew from books. So I looked at her reports and I did not really follow much on the report in terms of the numbers. But what actually got me inquisitive was her prescription. So her prescription stated all the medications that were in that respective dosage, and she was prescribed to eat. So behind, usually the doctors would write you a small little diet like avoid oils and avoid sugar and avoid whatever fried stuff and stuff. So in that prescription, it said you can eat Treptin biscuits for protein. Now that is what really, really caught my eye. So the next thing I did was I Googled on Treptin biscuits, and I figured that it has got soy, it's got wheat, and it's got sugar. And I showed this to my mother, and she says, you're crazy. Doctor has given me, I have to call for it. She orders 600 rupees of Treptin biscuits from the medical store without flinching an eye. Anyways, now that got my eye, and I looked at her entire profile, and I asked her. I said, "What did the doctor tell you to eat and stuff?" She said, "नहीं, कुछ भी नहीं." I'll say this in Hindi. I'm not sure if everybody is going to understand. She said, "डॉक्टर ने बोला सब खाने का, लेकिन दवाई नहीं छोड़ने का." Right? That is what was the real turning point, and that is what has actually got me into this section of diabetes today. And why I'm so brutal about diabetes today is because we are being told to take medication without changing the lifestyle. So we are being told to fix a problem with something else, not addressing the root cause of that problem. The root cause of my mother's so-called diabetes is high blood sugar, high fasting insulin. But she's being told to eat products which are going to add to that high blood sugar, add to those problems. Now, what happens to the medications? 33 years, you are eating the same medication. Why is this medication not being taken off from your file? Because you're eating the same foods. So yes, we are taking doctors' prescriptions as the last word. We need to diagnose it ourselves. That is what has actually got me into diabetes. And that is the time I told my mother, I said, now you're not going to take these medications, or we are going to try to stop this medication with a lifestyle change. And you know how people, mothers are and grandmothers are at the age of 75, very rigid. I don't want to do, I'm happy with my pills. So I have a lot of people who come and tell me, we're happy to take pills and we'll eat everything. I said, perfect. Great. You are funding the pharma industry. You are funding the food industry. What more do they want? So with my mother's case, I took over her case and I changed her. So I have her reports of 2020, which I have also published on Instagram. And I also have her reports of 2022, where she has come down drastically from a fasting insulin of 14 to a fasting insulin of 3.6.
Amazing.
Right? She's reversed that. She does amazing fasting. She eats 1 meal a day. Sometimes it's 2 meals a day. She does very long dry fast. What happened? Her doctor, she hasn't visited for the last 2 years because there is nothing to show.
True.
This is the reason I wanted to pin this out.
Absolutely. And that's a really great insight. And I'm sure every person would have this story in their family, some member, some family
Absolutely.
member. This will be happening, because this is what is it's been for the last years. And it's funny how we put so much faith in a pill that we don't even know what ingredients are and where to heal our body. And also a doctor who we might not even know on a personal level, and just because
Exactly.
we have to going to that person, and we don't even put a little percentage of that much faith into the power of a lifestyle change, which I hope that we become more closer to it, and bridge this major gap, and find
We have to start to come closer to nature. You have to understand this. The more closer you are to nature, the better you will live. That's how our ancestors lived. That's how we have come till here. If our ancestors were eating the foods that we are eating today, we would not be even surviving.
Absolutely.
They definitely ate better food.
Absolutely. And also there's this, major fear with diabetic patients and fasting. like they would say that people with diabetes should not fast. And on a side note, a lot of doctors, a lot of personal trainers would recommend against it. And I'm not a doctor, and I hope to get a major expert on this podcast to really clarify. I mean, there are many major books out there who are trying to tell you and teach you that diabetes can be reversed and can be worked on with fasting, and just to do it the right way. And even my own parents, they have always had this fear of fasting because their doctor or their trainer has always advised against it, that no, you're a diabetic patient, fasting is not for you. You have to eat 6 times a day with 2 hours of gap between each meal, and
Gaps,
each
yeah.
smaller
Yes.
meal. And you can have, like, those digestive biscuits, like replace them
Yeah,
with the
yeah,
real biscuit. So that's what it has been for all over the years. And people, and I get it that of course doctors also have the restrictions, in terms of this whole medical system, how it works, and there might be actions taken against them also at some point, with this fear that they are prescribing something they have not really learned, or not really taught
yeah.
to prescribe to their patients. But I
Exactly.
think,
You pulled this word
right,
very, very beautifully here. Not been taught. So yes, doctors are not aware of this simply because in a 5 year of MBBS that they do, their practice, they've only got lectures on nutrition for about 6 to 7 hours. That is all. So I really don't blame them.
true. And that's how, a doctor would always point you to another nutritionist if they want you to change something in your diet, because I feel like even they would have a lot more power, and I'm sure they also have the knowledge, but there's this little fear and little restriction that comes in with doctor patient consultation in
Yes,
India. So,
absolutely.
that's,
Yeah,
that was a very
great.
interesting part of this episode. And moving on, I want to talk about something really interesting,
Just
is
before
how.
you move on, Sakshi, I'm
Sure.
so sorry, but just before you move on, and since we touched the topic of diabetes also today, there's this
Hmm.
one book I really want to recommend India to read on diabetes, which is really going to help them to understand the problem. Because without understanding the problem, you will not be able to fix it. And that book is very handy right here in front of me. And that book
Lovely.
is called The Diabetes Code. Okay? It's by
Right.
Dr. Jason Fung, uh, the man who actually showed us that diabetics should fast, and that's what's going to
Exactly.
repair their or put their diabetes into remission. So it's a very, very beautiful book. If your viewers could have a hold of this book, it's available on a PDF and in a book form, paperback. It's a wonderful. So that's the reason I wanted to just pin this out.
Absolutely. This was just the book that I had in my mind. I just didn't get the right name of it. But definitely, I'm going to order that for my parents as well, to bust that
Yes.
fear in my mind about fasting and diabetes. So that was a very insightful segment of a podcast. And moving on to a very interesting one, interesting question that I wanted to ask you is that how did you get your family to be on the same page as you? Because you guys are famous and you are really putting it out there to follow the carnivore diet, or to eat in this particular amazing way together as a family, which is really difficult. Like, there'll be fitness trainers, nutritionists out there who will always find the most difficult thing to do is to get their family on the same page as them, and they'll be like, I can't do it, I'll just have some other nutritionist, some other trainer to do that for them. So can you just tell us a little bit about that, and how did you do this? And it's really important because today young parents, I mean, can start doing this at a much earlier stage than the kid having to change his complete lifestyle after 25 years. So if
Yeah.
you can just shed some light on that.
Sure. So this is a very interesting topic, and the reason I say interesting is because whenever I get an inquiry or I get a consultation that I have to handle, if it's a woman who's into either a joint family or even a nuclear family with husband and children, it really, it really helps me to put my best foot forward. And I'll tell you the reason why. The woman is the king of the kitchen. So everything that comes to your table finally comes through her. Right, today I decide what I want to cook. Or of course, I do get suggestions from my family in the terms of their likings. But my point is the ingredients, the way of cooking, right? All of this comes through a woman. So whenever there's a woman on my plan, I'm very excited because I look at it this way. If I can train this lady to get on the correct lifestyle and to start cooking healthy, now I'm not just changing one life, right? and changing the life of everybody that surrounds that lady in that family. Now, this is exactly what happened in my family too. So when I started in 2018, my husband has had a lot of issues in terms of uh, bleeding from his rectum. It's been for a couple of years. He's also had a lot of trouble with constipation. He's had a major problem with heartburn, acidity. Every single meal that he eats, for as long as I know him, of 24 years of my marriage, he's been taking acidity, antacid with every single meal. Period. Without that antacid, he cannot put a morsel in his mouth. Now, this has been there for years and we've settled with it, literally. When I started to change my lifestyle in 2018, and at that point, he had gained almost, he had become around 97 kilos. He used to look huge. Now, with his height, you really can't make out, you'll say, oh, he's a nice, well built man. But no, he was unwell. When I started in 2018 and then I shifted on to 2019 and I saw my own results and I happened to tell him that, you know what, I think you should really try this. It's going to help. So he says, you know what, you're crazy. You're doing some fat diet and I'm not going to do it. Fair enough. So it's very difficult, when on the same table, two of you are eating two different meals. So I would still be cooking his meals with the carbs and things like that. And then when things would come from out, he would still eat that. If he would go and visit his family, his mom's side or whatever, extended family, he would be still eating those same food. And he would come back with the same problem, same pain, same acidity, same pill popping, blah. I started to lose my weight in 2019. And that is when he actually started to see the change in me. So he came up to me and he said, you know what, I think it's getting really tough for me now. I need to do something because even the workouts are not going to help. And they were not helping, let me be honest. That is when I started to actually put the same plate for him as for me. Okay. Within a few months, he saw his acidity was gone. So where he used to take a pill at every meal, he started taking a pill maybe like once or twice in 2, 3 days. Literally that frequency. Because I had stopped all the maida, I had stopped all the rice, the grains, the bread, the pasta, everything. He saw a great difference. Yes, he started to lose weight at a drastic rate, much more than what I did. So his weight loss journey has been much faster. He lost about 18 kilos in about 1.5 years, and I took pretty long for the same. Now, what is interesting here is that he also he lost his acidity issues. He got rid of his rectum bleeding. So all of those issues were sorted, and we realized that hey, this is lifestyle. So for him, it was a tough journey coming into this lifestyle in the initial phase, but now it's been settled. So it's been about 5 years now. He's never taken an anti-acid till today. We've never visited a
Amazing.
doctor. Yeah. Now comes the tough part. The tough part was my daughter. At that point, she was just 10 years old. And you know how it is with kids around, and with this, of course, this COVID issue happening, where we were so, constrained to foods in terms of we had to cook at home. And kids, they love to eat outside. I love to eat outside too. I used to love. So she was my toughest warrior. Because when you go out, obviously you are surrounded with people who want to eat a certain way. And if you don't eat that way, then there's something wrong with you.
True.
So my daughter faced a lot of trouble in terms of trauma, in terms of mentally also and physically also, because obviously her body was constantly demanding sugar because that's how we've all been eating. So for her, the transition was very difficult. But what really saved her and me was the COVID period. Those 2 years where we couldn't really eat anything outside, I became a better cook and I could cook better at home. So that 2 years of transition actually helped to put my family to where they are today. And today my daughter eats really well. She strength trains 3 times a week. She's 15 years old. She loves her meat. She loves her eggs. She's not such a red meat fan, but she's more into chicken and fish. But I'm still happy with that. It's been a tough journey, but not a difficult one. So I always tell this to the parents when they come to me or for a program or for a consultation. And I specifically advise this to the mothers. please start your child's first meal with protein.
Hmm.
Do that so that you will understand when the next hunger arises. See, with protein, what happens is you feel full for a longer period of time, and protein takes very long to digest. Hence, the calorie burning is going to happen without you even knowing. Whenever you
True.
start your child's first meal with protein, it will keep them fuller. It will help them build muscle. Plus, they will not be cranky every few hours for food. And I have put this as a challenge out on my Instagram also a couple of months back, where I brought in about a few mothers and I told them, I said, let's start this kids challenge where you try to change your child's first meal and you will see a huge difference. Simply because I get so many kids today who are just 10 and 12 and they're already diabetic.
True.
It's not their
That's a
fault, it's the parents.
that's a very powerful tip. And just to add to this, what I have observed, and I'm sure when you have, and a lot of people have, this has changed over the years, and it would keep progressing. Unfortunately, in the coming years, also to the exposure we have to the options of junk food available to us. Like for an example, my parents, my mom, never uh, went to a McDonald's or never went to any fast food joint, say till her like early 40s even, and me,
Right.
I had my first McDonald's meal in my sixth standard when I started going out with my friends and all. Right now today, when I see young parents and younger children, like where I live, there's literally McDonald's below my house in my building, literally in my building. Okay. And I'd see, like, 3 years old, 4 years old, knowing the names of junk food and going and opting for those options. And after Saturday half day school, parents and children all going to McDonald's. The exposure, it's crazy, like how it has progressed over the years. And now more than ever, it's a bigger need to address this, and it all begins at home. And even if it's difficult to change for your children right now, even if they see you as a mother, as a
Yeah,
parent,
yeah,
doing these things, it's really going to help them, starting to accept. Because very easily now they can say that, but even you are order from outside, so what, even I can eat outside.
yes,
That's what always
yes,
happens. And I'm in
yes,
no place to advise. I'm young, I'm not a mother, I'm not a parent in any way, but I'm not teaching or preaching in any way, but just an observation to point out over here, since we are on this topic. And it's
absolutely.
a great way that you're leading by example with your family. It's very inspiring to see, because food can either unite or it can, bring
Or
people
divide.
right. So and
Yeah.
that often
Well, it has.
happens
For
with
me, it
teenagers.
has.
True.
Because we've lost out on so many social outings now because every time somebody calls us, they say, "Oh, you don't eat the kind of." I said, "Yes, I don't eat." And another thing I'd like to point here, since you mentioned about food dividing and uniting, you have to also understand another thing. The people you surround yourself with, they don't just affect you in terms of financially or socially. They affect what you choose to eat. So obviously, if you're sitting with a group of people who drink or who smoke and who are eating junk food outside, you as a family or as a person will also adapt to the same environment. So I'm not saying that you quit all of these friends, but just become a little bit more aware of where you need to be present. You don't need to be present at every outing. You don't need to be present at every gathering.
Absolutely. And that can really at times make us question why we are
Yes,
doing what we're doing. Like if you go out with friends and you see all these limitations you have in terms of your nutrition, or in terms of you breaking your lifestyle for that one particular weekend, it can really put you down mentally, that why am I doing this? My friends are not doing it. I don't see others doing it, they're enjoying their lives, and why am I really on this journey? But it's really important to sit down with yourself and prioritize, like you said,
yes,
the if you
yes,
need to do that. And also
yes.
and of course, if it's not helping you be happy or grow more in your life, in any part of your life, then you just know, like, your answer is right there, right in front of you. So that's
Exactly,
a great
exactly.
approach.
And I feel, I have to say this, you have to have friends in your life or people in your life that respect what you do. So I would rather sit with somebody who respects the way I eat, right? That will make my relationship not just good with my food, because I'm choosing that food, but also with that person because now that person respects the way I eat. So if I'm sitting with a vegetarian, for example, and I'm a meat eater, does that mean I disrespect my friend because she's a vegetarian? No. She has her own personal food choices. But if I sit with her on the same table while she's eating her vegetarian food, I think that itself shows how much I respect her as a person and the choices that she makes. So if somebody is disrespecting you or your way of eating, you don't need such people in your life. That is the first sign.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's a very powerful message. And I hope that helps our listeners today to, take the steps that they have been fearing to take in terms of the change that they want to make in the lifestyle. So just moving on to the last segment, I didn't learn this until last week with your updates, is that you have a lot of vegetarian clients as well, right? And this last
Yes.
segment is for our vegetarian friends out there. Uh, who might feel that if someone is talking about a carnivore diet, it's they are very hard to reach because of the personal choices that we have in our life as a vegetarian, right? So
True.
what would you like to say are some things, some changes that people, vegetarians, can start making, and how do you particularly guide the vegetarian clients and the changes they can make right now, apart from the drastic acceptance of eating meat or even eating egg for some
Correct.
people?
Correct. Correct. Absolutely. So vegetarian clients. Okay. Firstly, I want to say this that uh, I respect and I love the vegetarian clients even more than my meat eaters. And I'll tell you the reason for this is because they are very disciplined. They are disciplined in spite of their limited choices that they have been given. They they keep themselves in that boundary. And I have to tell you this, I've had almost 48 vegetarian clients so far. Okay, in spite of my handle saying Indian carnivore, in spite of me promoting meat and eggs so much, I still have a lot of vegetarian clients coming to me. Why? Because the reports are all messed up. They're messed up because of high sugars, high processed foods. So I love to address vegetarian clients first because I know what is the main ingredient that needs to come out of their meal, and that is sugar. So my advice to all vegetarian clients is if you're starting this journey on your own, which is wonderful, learn about it, educate yourself through research, through books. I am not asking anybody to convert to a non vegetarian or to convert to carnivore. That is not my aim. And I have said this many a times, even on my Instagram, that I'm not here to convert anybody. I am just here to show you the facts, whether you are veg or whether you are non vegetarian. How you will choose to adapt to those facts or how you will choose to change your lifestyle as per those facts is completely a personal choice. And you have to remember your body is not going to give you results overnight, whether you are vegetarian or non vegetarian. It's going to take time. So, the one tip I really want to give vegetarian clients here is firstly, correct your kitchen, correct the ingredients in your kitchen. Get off the sugars, get off the seed oils, get off the refined grains. If you can just get these three things out of your kitchen, your life is almost going to be 50% sorted. Yeah. And why I say so is because this is the amalgamation of these three poisonous things together that's going to ruin you. It will never give you the correct hunger signals. It will always keep you starving, and you'll always feel, oh, because I don't have enough choices, I have to go back to carbohydrates. No, you don't have to. I have vegetarian clients who are eating paneer, who are on a low carb lifestyle, who are maintaining their blood sugars very well. They have been eating a very good amount of hung curds, yogurt, few nuts here and there, some low carb veggies, and they're doing fantastically well. In fact, I have a lot of thyroid and even PCOD patients, vegetarian, pure vegetarian, who are performing brilliantly well. And I have already posted their reports on the Instagram. So the first rule applies: protein as your first meal. Protein, even for vegetarians. It'd be paneer, it'd be hung curds, it'd be a few nuts. Please, if you can. If you can go vegetarian, at least just for your health, do it. Do it. I do understand limitations. I do understand that we live in a country where we have to abide by home rules, especially because if you're in a joint family. but this is for your health. And if you can permit yourself to at least eat eggs, which will be a great option, do it. If you cannot, being a vegetarian also, you can have so many different choices.
Understood. And that's some really great insight for our vegetarians out there who
Yeah.
might be facing a dilemma because, like you said, largely in India, we are not vegetarians, we are grainitarians from the last
Yes, I always say
few.
this. We eat
Exactly.
grains.
Exactly. So I think that's what needs to change. And I'm sure with these little things, people will notice some major shifts in their mood and their health and in their energy
Yes,
overall. So that's a great insight. Thank you for sharing that with us. And also to address one aspect of it, I might get some shade for this, but lactose intolerance. Okay. So a lot of people today say that they are intolerant to lactose and that's why they don't consume milk or milk
dairy,
products,
milk.
or dairy products, right? Even in their coffees they would replace it with almond milk or soy milk and things of those sort. I would say that until a few years ago a lot of Indians didn't even know what lactose intolerance is, this whole word, what it is, because we have grown up with eating dairy in most households. Even vegetarians eat curd, they eat paneer, they eat ghee. It's a major part of our lifestyle for years, of a culture, right? And we have never faced this issue or noticed these things, these side effects of it, until and unless we got introduced to this term lactose intolerance, by the Western diets or by a lot other even TV shows or whatever you see.
TV
And
shows, yeah.
when these replacements came is when we knew that, okay, yeah, almond milk, yeah, okay, because I'm lactose intolerant, that's why I'm going to choose and go for it. Of course, if you really have the reports, if you really have tested yourself out for the allergies or being lactose intolerant, then absolutely respect your choice. And but what I feel is that most often people don't even have their tests done and they declare that they're lactose intolerant. And while some allergies or some side effects might be causing with what you're having with it, or some other things that are there in your diet. So if we can just talk a little bit about this.
Yeah, yeah. So lactose, milk. And people ask me, we have this trend in India. We drink haldi wala doodh every night. And I till today do not know what it does or what it has done. I'm sure Ayurveda will have its own funda for this, but I don't want to get into that. But the point is milk. As humans, as adults, do we need milk? No. We used to have milk as babies. Because we got introduced to semi-solid foods and solid foods after a certain period of time. That's where we needed the milk, and the milk did everything it could for that child. As adults, we don't need milk. Okay. Lactose intolerant, another fancy word for companies to sell you soy milk, almond milk, nut milk. And I always tell people, which nut has got boobs to milk? What are you trying to see? Don't you see what is in the product? When you turn an almond milk box around, you will see it's just got 2% almond milk. The rest, 98% is garbage. And you are paying a bomb price for these kind of milks. As a human being, you do not need milk. Yes, a little bit here and there in coffee or your tea, 5 to 10 ml, fair enough. But in terms of nutrition, nothing, nothing. So this is all fancy marketing that they're trying to sell you. There is no such thing. If you are lactose intolerant, how come you're having the other products which have got lactose in it? So it's a very yeah, what you said, they don't even get themselves tested. Like somebody says, oh, I'm I'm allergic to eggs, and I said, did you get a food allergy test done? No. How do you know? Because I ate an egg at so and so restaurant and I got a stomach upset. You got a stomach upset because you ate at a restaurant which probably did not cook the egg well. That doesn't mean you're allergic to eggs.
True.
So this is a lot of, yeah, there's a lot of internal drama going on with all of these words. And even keto for that matter. Every product is being added a prefix. Gluten free, keto, whatever,
Keto
lactose,
friendly.
yeah, keto friendly. I'm like, don't you turn around and see the package? Don't go by the word. Understand, read labels. I tell people, question your doctor and read the labels. Understand how to read ingredients.
True. And even going to a cafe, a healthy cafe these days, if you see a dish has like a score of four of these things, like gluten free, vegan, and like say some
Vegan,
sugar, some other things. Okay,
plant-based, plant-based.
right.
Yeah,
It has these four scores. Amazing. It's a healthy meal. Let's go for it. Without,
yeah,
even if that person
absolutely.
is not vegan, that would always happen, because this is, we are sold these things, and subliminally we are getting acquainted to these things, you want it or not, and that's where you're going out and making those choices out in the world and on your everyday in your everyday life, right? So that's something also to.
Absolutely. Yes, and very important factor I will bring out here is when you go to these cafes or you're eating this so-called healthy food, my first question is, what are the oils? So no matter how healthy you are cooking for me, a piece of chicken with a salad and a side dish and whatever, my question still remains the same. What have you cooked that food in is going to first primarily decide whether that food is healthy or not.
Absolutely.
So check for the seed oils, check for refined oils, every single restaurant. And I say this in spite of having family in the restaurant business, having friends in the restaurant business, every restaurant will use oils that are refined, seed oils, because it's a business. I have to put
True.
this out. I will not take the name, but I had a keto brand which came up to me and they wanted me on the panel for their keto nutrition foods. And they had a long chat with me, and I listened to everything that they had to say to me. We're going to do this, and we're going to add this with avocado and olive oil and all of that. And my final question was to them was, after the entire conversation was, what are the oils you're using? And they said, ma'am, it's a business we have. And they told me this very frankly, it's a business we have to use refined oils. I said, thank you. I don't wish to take this conversation any further. What you're cooking your food in is the most important ingredient, no matter how healthy you call it. So seed oils, biggest disaster in our kitchens.
One of the hidden factors that not many people even know about, and we have been using in our own kitchen and restaurants, unquestionably it has been a major part, and they would never reveal it in the menu, that they would reveal if it has dairy or not, they would reveal if they have any sort of
Yes.
meat, but not oils in any way. And also this is
Yeah.
because
Now, there are certain restaurants, I'll bring this out. There are certain restaurants that I have personally seen that have started to put up this board where it says, we use vegetable oil, we use sunflower oil, right? Now I tell the person, well, this restaurant states that they are using it. You, as a consumer, already know the disadvantages of eating in this oil. You still go and eat here. So whose choice is it? So it's always the choice remains in our hands.
of course. And also, a great tip to follow also is sometimes that they would really not change the way they are cooking until unless you tell them that you have an allergy of some sort. So a great hack would be
I
to go
love
and say,
this.
I'm allergic to this, and can you just cook it in butter,
Yes.
or can you cook it in ghee or
Yes. So
whatever?
I tell all my clients, and they come back and say, Mehek, how do we help ourselves when we go to a restaurant? I said, two ways. Yeah. Either you give them the butter by yourself, or then you tell them that you're allergic to these refined oils and you'll probably have trouble and they will be put into trouble. So they will be happy to cook it for you either in butter or in ghee. And they're just going to charge you a little extra, which is absolutely fine. So you have to
Of
find
course.
your way. You have to find your way.
Of course, because everything does come with a cost, and if you want these choices,
Yeah.
it's okay to pay the price for it as well. So, and also one last thing to add over here is that I hope that restaurants also start including the more healthier options of oils that we are currently looking for. But what happens is restaurants always curate their menu with the trends going on, right? Like the first
Yes, yes.
healthiest that major Indian population would think when they're going to a restaurant is making choosing the option of a wheat roti over a garlic naan, right? So that's
Correct. Correct.
major first thing, and that's why even now restaurants have just in the last 1 decade or so started giving options of wheat roti, because they saw that's what we're asking for. And then it was now last a couple of years or so, the whole vegan or the gluten free culture is
Yeah,
coming
yeah,
in,
yeah.
right? So that's why you would see these options also in a very select restaurant. So I hope that this change happens with oils as well. And also When you
Yes,
go to restaurants, if you see these things, it's really because it's in the trend right now. And just seeing it here doesn't mean that it's healthy for you. It also means that the
exactly.
owner just thinks it's in trend and it's what most people are asking for. That's why they would keep it in the menu. So
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes. So it's always best, I tell people, if you want to save your health, cook. Cook your own food. So when you cook, you know what you're using, right? Why do you think today Swiggy and Zomato are doing such good business? It's because you demand it. It's because you are lazy. You don't want to put in the effort to cook your food, but you're okay to stand in a doctor's clinic for hours just to get one prescription from him.
true. That's a big eye opener
Yeah.
for us, and it's been a really amazing episode. Thank you, Mike ma'am, for being here today. And I'm sure that this is gonna help open a lot of knots that people have in terms of nutrition and in terms of their lifestyle today. And I hope that if not all, they could make at least one change from this episode that is really doable for them. So thank you for sharing all of these insights with us, and it was very insightful for me
Anytime.
personally as well. It was lovely having
Thank
you
you.
here. And as we conclude the episode, do you
Thank
have
you
any last messages or thoughts for our audience to leave us with?
for the audience. Well, fix your plate. Fix your plate. Believe me. Everything in your life, be it from physical ailments to mental issues. That's another big topic we never discussed was mental issues, how your food can affect you mentally. And I have seen that in my own family. So especially with the children, and this is a big tip I want to really give out today, especially for the mothers, because it's going to be Mother's Day tomorrow. Fix your child's food because your child's food is going to fix their mental health. You see suicidal cases, depression, drugs, children getting onto the wrong path simply because the foods are wrong. The foods is what your brain, see, your brain uses it's the food that you eat. So you have to give the brain the quality of the food that it can make the right decisions. So this is my actual message today because it's going to be Mother's Day tomorrow. I want to give this message to the mothers. Please, it's your duty. Your child has made you a mother. It's given you the privilege of being a mother. So don't misuse that privilege. Use it. Give back to your kid with the right nutrition, right guidance. Because these are children today who are going to probably be diabetic in the near future. So what you're feeding them today is going to decide what's going to happen in the near future for them.
Absolutely, that's a very powerful message, and thank you for sharing that with us. And not just when they grow up, even if you see kids today being cranky on a daily basis or waking up with a bad
Yeah.
mood, going to sleep with a bad mood. Of course, it does matter what happened in the whole day and on their sleep routine as well. But what you would also like to think about is changing something in their nutrition, even an easy change that is for you to start today. So that's a great message. It's a very powerful message, and
Yes.
I'm sure a lot of mothers are listening to this, and I hope that they make a little
I
change
hope.
with families.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Because I always tell people giving your child sugar or any forms of sugar is not loving them. You're just destroying them. You think
True.
it's love and pampering. It's not. I see it the other way because I can see the problems. I can see the trouble. And it's very, very saddening to see mothers who bring their children's cases to me at a very young age.
True. So this was an amazing episode, Mahek ma'am, and thank you so much for being here
Thank
today.
you.
And, we conclude our episode here today. That's it for today's episode.
Thank
I'm
you.
Sakshi Pawar, and I'll be your host for the Settle or Be Better podcast. So stay tuned while we bring more inspiring stories here. You know the drill. Subscribe to the Settle or Be Better podcast, like, share, and comment on our videos. And oh, hit the bell icon because you don't want to miss the mind boggling health discussions we're about to bring for you. Why settle when you can be better?